Is Solo Sikoa the biggest babyface in professional wrestling right now? That is going to be the subject of today's podcast. Welcome to the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast, Monday Night Raw edition from August the 17th, live in Buffalo, New York. Our little home away from home here. We got to see a live Raw. It was quite exciting, and let's talk about Solo Sikoa. I'm really excited to see where this whole thing goes. This was shaping up to be an okay episode of Monday Night Raw, and that main event segment delivered. But what did you make of the show and kind of getting that opportunity to be there live?
So obviously, live being able to see these live is always a treat because it's much more entertaining to see it in person, even though you don't get the commentary that goes along with it. But I think it's more than just Solo. I think it's the combination of Solo and LA Knight that's making this work so well. I think being able to have two Solo and everything that he does, and then everything that Knight brings to the table to add to that makes this whole storyline even better. And I think that at the end of this, Solo needs to have the title on him, and I'm okay with sacrificing LA Knight to that.
So I actually think the opposite is going to happen here, and I think it's going to be LA Knight that wins the title, but I'm going to explain in a minute here. But first, let's walk through the segment. So we had a night-long narrative that, Jey Uso finally done good, and he was going to deliver Solo Sikoa to Roman Reigns. And this kind of, got under the skin of Jacob Fatu throughout the course of the night. And eventually leading into the main event segment, which saw Roman come to the ring, asked to be acknowledged with just Jacob, brought the Usos out with Solo Sikoa. And, Roman got really irate, played a video package showing, how he beat Solo at the Netflix debut a couple of years ago, and how Solo basically, was supposed to fall in line. He didn't. And this just made Roman more and more kind of upset and pissed off, got in his face, pushed him down. Jacob kicked him, knocked him over. And, this eventually, had Roman kind of had him hold up by the Usos and basically was like, look, you got to acknowledge me or else. This brought out LA Knight to make the save. The heels kind of held him down a little bit. He ultimately asked Solo to hit him with the spike and, show his love to Roman Reigns. This was kind of very reminiscent of the time when Sammy turned on the Bloodline when he hit Roman Reigns with the chair back at the Royal Rumble in 2021, excuse me. And yeah, he obviously then proceeded to smash Roman Reigns with the spike, and the baby faces stood tall. And all the while, Jacob Fatu stood in the corner because he was told by Roman Reigns to not do anything, which I also thought was very interesting. And a lot of good stuff from this segment. So just immediately dissecting it, I loved it. I love that Jacob Fatu just stood there. I love that he stood there because his character has been quite neutered since losing to Roman Reigns. He's kind of been completely just sort of there and sort of useless as a background character in this whole thing. And I think this kind of, again, puts him a little bit into the forefront, which is a good thing, because I recall a time when we got a little bit of a tease between Jacob Fatu and Bron Breakker on a random episode of Monday Night Raw where they came face to face, and everybody online and everybody all over the place was like, oh, that's going to be a future WrestleMania main event. And, both of these guys just kind of fell off a cliff, and we're slowly starting to see these two guys, turning around. But we'll talk about Bron Breakker in a little while. But, the bigger story here, obviously, is Solo Sikoa and LA Knight just being so over as baby faces. And I thought this segment was incredible. It was the best the Bloodline has looked in probably 3 years. And I'm very eager to see where this goes. And to your point, this needs to end with one of these two men, preferably LA Knight, winning the title. And I think that LA Knight can win the title here if we were to go the route of Solo and or Jacob ultimately helping him. And I could see a world where Jacob takes out the Usos, Solo hits Roman, and LA Knight gets the win.
So keep in mind too that Roman presented the Usos with those black Ulafala lay things,
Mhm.
and Jacob didn't particularly take that very well.
He got one a
So
couple weeks ago, though.
no, I know, but if you stood there if you watched him during the segment, the his reaction to them getting those, you could tell that he was not particularly enthused by that. I think that the fact that he stood back and did nothing when that's exactly what Roman told him to do is hysterical. I think that when Roman confronts him next week and he's like, "Well, you told me to do that," I'm gonna absolutely love that. But the other thing that I love is that even in these serious segments, Solo Sikoa can still pull off humor. Like
Mhm.
when he put his hand into his jacket and pulled out his finger gun,
Pew!
pew, was to die for. And I'm like I said, I am fine with either Solo or Knight coming out of this with the title on them. I don't really care. I think either of them can benefit by that. I think I would like it a little bit more if it was on Knight, just because he's so much closer to the end of his career than Solo is.
Yeah.
But I like where this is going, and you're 100% correct. This has been the best Bloodline segment in a very long time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and also seeing the crowd acknowledge Roman Reigns in person is always fun, even when he runs down the host city.
I mean, he really didn't run down the host city all that much compared to some other folks who came out. I mean, Paul Heyman did a good job of running down the host city, and
Yeah,
so did a couple of other heels as they came out. Liv Morgan as well, right?
well,
But
Roman called us stupid, so
yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I didn't. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really take it like that, but
my bigger point was just seeing. It's always enjoyable seeing so many people acknowledge him in person.
sure. Yeah, and I think that it's very exciting to see where this goes. And like of all of the things that happened on Raw of like any consequence, this was like one of like the two things that happened on Raw that kind of had any consequence, right? So I enjoyed it. I thought this was like by far and above the best thing about Monday Night Raw. And you know, if you were going to go to the show, this was like the one kind of takeaway you got from the whole show. The rest of it was okay. There was some good wrestling on the show. There was some not so good wrestling on the show. There were some things in the show I did not give a damn about. And you know, let's kind of get into it. So the show kicked off with Stephanie Becker with her brand new horrible theme music coming out to the ring, and you know, and started to cut a promo. She was immediately interrupted by Liv Morgan and the baddies, now completely separated from the men of the Judgment Day, which was kind of weird because now we have the women of the Judgment Day doing their own thing and the men of the Judgment Day doing their own thing, and they are no longer one cohesive unit, which is a little odd because the men literally came out right after this, which was very odd, but
Yeah,
whatever. Anyway, this obviously, you know, got Liv into Stephanie's face. Liv, you know, usual heel shtick here a little bit. Baddies came down to attempt to beat Stephanie Becker up. She was initially saved by Becky Lynch, but it wasn't enough for the faces, if you even want to call them faces, to, you know, take advantage of the numbers game here, and the heels ultimately stood tall to close out the segment. This is fine. I mean, you've got a bunch of people here in the main event segment. I think the bigger problem I have overall with this is just the continuity between the shows. And what I mean by that is you were about ready to strip the title off of Chelsea Green for not being able to defend the title for 30 days. Yet you've got Liv Morgan, who's defended the title once since WrestleMania. That's kind of a little dumb storytelling, and you probably should have not done that. Granted, the WWE writers' room is using ChatGPT to write all of these stories, so they're probably not, you know, thinking of things like that.
so that's exactly what the problem is, though, is because they were going to strip Chelsea because she's injured, but then just because you can't figure out a storyline for Liv, she gets to go 8 months without defending the title.
Yep.
It's asinine. And to what you were saying about Stephanie's new theme music, I had no idea that was even her at first.
I didn't either
Like,
until the words came up on the screen.
I mean, I recognized her symbol and that was when I realized it. But like, yeah, WWE needs to stop messing with people's entrance music and to the point where people are unrecognizable.
Yep.
Like, leave it alone. And then I'm not going to complain too much because I think we're going to get some really good matches out of this. I think Roxanne versus Becky. I think Roxanne versus Stephanie will be good. I think Liv versus Stephanie, Liv versus Becky, three-way matches between the three of them will be good. I think the only matches that won't be good will be any of them involving Raquel Rodriguez. But I think just overall we should get some good stuff out of this.
And also, speaking of entrances, I'm sorry. Can we go back to Becky having her old entrance music too? Because Becky's music kind of sucks too. When Becky's
That one
music,
though,
when Becky's music hit, I there was no pop. There was no pop for Becky's music, and Becky's old music was awesome. It was very good for the live crowd, and I just couldn't give a crap about Becky's new music.
that one's a little bit weirder of a situation though, because I don't think it was WWE that changed that. Wasn't
No, it
it
was her. It
her?
was her that changed it, and
I was gonna say it was her, right?
it's not that good.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that particular song. I think it doesn't really fit her. But the problem being it was her choice to change it. I feel like that makes it a little bit harder for them to revert back. You know what I mean?
I suppose. I just
With
think that, like, for character presentation, her old music worked better.
100%. I loved her old music.
Personal preference here, I think.
Yeah,
So, again, with the women's segments here, and I'm not going to just come off as completely negative here, but like, again, really cool to go to a live show, but I didn't care about this, and it was too. It was like just way too slow, and I don't want to be the guy who gets all over people for not being able to address the English speaking crowds a little bit. And I know Stephanie Becker is relatively new to WWE, so I'm going to cut her some slack. But I went to the show with someone who was not a wrestling fan at all, and she could not understand what Stephanie was saying at all. And part of that was the live crowd, part of that was the microphones. But I kind of just think, for certain things like that, maybe it comes across better on TV. And I might wonder, is that for characters whose English is not their first language, does it hurt them a little bit with the live crowds because of that? Because, like, just, with the audio and with the way things were going, it just seemed like I couldn't understand. And I'm pretty good about that. And I can moderately understand what she's saying, but it's like, it really, when it's not on TV and it's not like right there, and like the audio's not, television audio, which like has microphones that pick up what they're saying, because she had a microphone. When you have the noise of the live crowd around you and everything else going on, it's really hard to pick up what they're saying. Hell, I had a hard time picking up what some of the other people were saying.
Yep.
On this show, and I think that's kind of more of just a complaint of WWE's audio. But yeah, I had a hard time with this segment and with her a little bit there, and I think that a hindrance to her character.
I was actually just about to say what you said at the end there. There were several points where people were talking, and I had a real hard time making out what they were saying. I don't know if it was an issue with the microphone, but then you couple that with the fact that some of these superstars have like real heavy accents or aren't English speakers as their original language, and it definitely does pose a problem for your average listener. And then this is probably going to be the first time that I will ever give credit to the SmackDown writers room, but I think the Raw writers room needs to talk to whoever's writing their long-winded promos over there on SmackDown and figure out how they're managing to do it right lately. Because SmackDown's been having some real talky sections and been pulling it off pretty well, whereas this wasn't a terribly long talkative section, and it was worse than some of the stuff we've seen over there.
I think it's just the people involved, right? Like, I mean, you've got the top of the top and CM Punk and Kevin Owens, like, cutting a promo for 20 minutes, and Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton cutting a promo for 20 minutes. I mean, there's not a woman on the roster outside of maybe Rhea Ripley who can compete with that.
Charlotte.
Maybe Rhea and Charlotte. I don't even think Becky can cut a promo that well anymore, to be completely honest with you. Her promos are so samey lately. And,
I'm not gonna lie either. I'm kind of over the whole Judgment Day and Liv Morgan thing. Part of me feels like they've missed their opportunity to have somebody turn on her, like Roxanne, and
I
have her
completely
take the
agree.
title off of her.
It feels like it's not going to have as big of an impact when and if it actually happens.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Is it feels like they missed their best chance to do that. And because like you just said, it's a real what you just said about Becky fits with Liv as well. Like literally all of her promos are the same nowadays. Oh well, I'm going to be the longest person because I'm the best ever and I'm doing this for me and nobody else. And she literally says the same thing every week.
Yeah, no, you are completely right. So that's what we had to open the show. This was immediately followed by the men of the Judgment Day, who are no longer a part of the Judgment Day, but they are a part of the Judgment Day, which is kind of weird. Come out and had Dominic Mysterio complaining that he wasn't going to be a part of the tournament that we saw a bunch of matches for, to crown whoever was going to be the AAA person to ultimately face Roman Reigns at the AAA Triple Mania show. But it's, even though it's likely going to be a WWE person facing Roman Reigns at the Triple Mania show, but regardless, we then saw Javon Evans just basically walk right past them, make his way to the ring, demand Big Cass to come out. He did not, but he instead had JD McDonough come down for the first match of the evening. And this was an okay match. JD really worked over Javon's knee for most of the match, and good back and forth. Ultimately saw Javon win with the OG cutter, which looked real good live. And this then afterwards brought out Big Cass, who beat the crap out of him. Javon got a little bit of a comeback, but then Dom, tossed him into the ring apron, and this ultimately allowed Big Cass to stand tall to close out the segment. I think we need to get this into a match already, and I think Big Cass just probably needs to destroy Javon. Maybe you have Javon pick up a win on like their second feud, but I think Big Cass needs to probably win his first feud, and then maybe in like 3 to 6 months you have him come back, and then you have Javon win later on.
So I had 4 takeaways from this particular thing. First one is that opening part with them coming out and Dom complaining that then literally went absolutely nowhere. Like what was even the point of that? It just seemed like a waste of a segment. And secondly, my God, is JD McDonough's head gigantic in person? Like,
I mean, that was just to set up the match, though. That was just to set up a match. Like, it was just
it just seemed weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has a giant head. It looks like a living Funko Pop.
That's so mean.
I mean, yeah, but it's true. And then you were completely right. The OG cutter in person. Not just that, but there were a couple points where where Evans did like drop kicks and stuff. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody get the height that he was getting on jumps. Like from a dead stand, he did a jump and he almost jumped over a standing JD McDonough.
Yeah.
Like the guy is probably, if not the most athletic person in WWE, one of the most athletic people. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth thing is, holy shit, is Big Cass big.
Oh my God.
He's like, not just tall big, but he is shredded. Like, he took his shirt off, and, I mean, that's what I look like when I take my shirt off, but I don't think I've ever seen a bigger person than him. It was moderately terrifying.
Yeah, he looked like a roid monster.
Like,
he really did.
And then just that coupled with the fact that he is 7.5 feet tall or whatever he is a terrifying man. And he needs to absolutely dominate Javon Evans in their first match. Like, Evans tries to get something going and then just gets crushed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't foresee him like probably ever winning the main title, but I could see him, I don't know, I could see him winning the Intercontinental Championship at some point.
Yeah, I think you have the opportunity with bringing him back to do something special with him, especially with A, how he looks, and B, the story, his personal story that you can use. I
Yeah.
think they can do something special there. And I really hope that this talk of them bringing Enzo back isn't true, or if they do, they don't couple them back together. I think that would be the one thing that would hurt anything they could be trying to do with Big Cass.
I mean, I'm not going to hold them to anything. I mean, they gave a crap about Rusev for all of 3 weeks. They gave a crap about Ethan Page for all of 3 weeks. So, those guys have kind of just completely fallen off a cliff. So, I mean, who knows? There are so many people, Ilya Dragunov and Ricky Saints. Like, where are any of these guys? And I know some of them are SmackDown, some of them are Raw, but it's like, it kind of takes me to my next point here a little bit with the matches that we saw, where we saw Ray Phoenix versus what's his face from AAA, El Fiscal, and then we saw a little bit later in the show Dragon Lee versus Dr. Wagner Jr. And more so to the Dragon Lee match, I think, because both of these matches kind of felt a little samey. I think the Ray Phoenix match was better, but the live crowd did not give a crap about the AAA wrestlers at all. And while the matches were fundamentally sound, I think having two of them on a US-based Monday Night Raw show instead of showcasing actual WWE talent, I think is a bigger problem. You could have done one match here, probably the first one, because I think the first one, the Ray Phoenix Alpha Skull match, was better. But I didn't care. I didn't care about either one of these matches. And you made a point before we get on here that we're inevitably building to a Ray Phoenix versus Penta match, which will be great. I have no doubt it will be great. But again, I don't care. I just don't care. And this took up way too much time, which is another problem I have with WWE as of late. And I wanna get to this point when we talk about Chad Gable and Rey Mysterio. But for right now, let's just say that these matches took way too much time on this show.
So the bigger problem for me, I 100% agree with you. There should have been one of these matches. The bigger problem for me is that all this is leading to is a finals of two WWE guys versus each other.
Yep.
Like, as it stands, the four people remaining in this tournament three of them are WWE stars. And the fourth one is La Parka, who is, I like Lucha Libre, but we don't get enough of it to know a ton of it. Like, I know these guys' names, but I feel like there had to have been a bigger person you could have had win. You know what I mean? Like, where's Vikingo? No, it's to win the Fatal Four or to advance, like, as far as the AAA people go. I feel like there's a bigger person they could have had still. Like, where was Vikingo? Where's El Grande? Where's Omos? Since technically he's a Lucha Libre wrestler. Where you know what I mean? Like, you want to showcase AAA. Why aren't you using the actual, like, bigger named people to be part of this? You know what I mean? And instead, you're using, like, from what I understand and was reading, Rey Mysterio wanted this Alpha Skull guy to go up against Phoenix, which I imagine is probably why it was the better of the two matches. Plus, it doesn't help that Phoenix is just a better wrestler than Dragon Lee, who's all of 3 feet tall. But I think that, like I said, my bigger issue out of all of this is A, the fact that there should have been one match, and B, like, why haven't there been any of these on SmackDown? Like, if you're going to do two matches, do one on each show. That way you're able to at least get more Raw people on Raw. And then B, the fact that your finals of this whole tournament is going to be two WWE guys facing each other, just for the right to lose to Roman Reigns.
Exactly. For the right to lose to Roman Reigns.
Because that's what it's going to come down to. Is, I get it. You want to have a reason to put Roman Reigns on the Triple Mania show. And obviously WWE is a bigger fan base than just us here in Buffalo. It's a worldwide thing. But you have to take into account the audience at your actual shows that are there in person.
And the fact that it's mostly, like, outside of Mexico and maybe a few other hardcore people, nobody gives a shit about El Fiscal or Dr. Wagner Jr.
That was my point. Like I said,
Nobody cares.
There's bigger named people that people know. Like, people know El Hijo del Vikingo because he was with WCW. Like, people actually know who some of these other guys are. Like, why wouldn't you use people who have name power instead of people who, like, I can't say anything because I know who people like Dr. or Hijo de Dr. Wagner are, but like I had no idea who Alpha Skull was. Like, it seems like it was weirdly planned out.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the matches were fine, right? Like they were good. They were fine matches to watch, especially the Ray Phoenix match. It was a very technical, great match. Um, so I'm not mad about the results or anything. I'm just more annoyed that this is what we got on
I
TV,
mean,
and I would have liked to see more WWE stars at a WWE show. Just throwing that out there, right?
both these matches literally showed off just what Lucha Libre is. So I don't know if maybe that's what the plan was, as they wanted more people to see what the Lucha style was. But that's literally both of these matches were what you get out of a Lucha match.
Well, and I got to be honest with you, if we didn't get the Roman Reigns segment, I would have been really friggin' annoyed that this was the show that we got, to be completely honest with you, because I think the Roman Reigns segment saved the show for me. Because
I
like
have
I did not this show felt very subpar until that happened. And I mean the main event match that we got was very, very good. But we'll get into that in a second. But ultimately this just completely fell flat for me.
see that main event match won me over. So
Next, we also had Sol Ruka versus Lyra Valkyria. And again, I had a problem with this too. And I know I'm coming across real negative today for a live show that I went to. But the booking here was completely wrong. I don't understand why you had Sol Ruka lose the title to Bakel and then just beat a brand new Lyra Valkyria, freshly heel turned, who has not technically really won a match yet as a heel. And you just have her lose, just straight up. And I think Lyra's buried. I think she's done. And you're going to try and convince me otherwise, but you're not going to be correct.
I'm not going to
And
try to convince you.
Lyra's buried. Lyra, I think, as far as I'm concerned, her and Julia should just leave. It's embarrassing. Like if I was her, I would be so pissed off. Yeah, I just freshly changed my character. I got new music. I got a new look. I just, beat the crap out of Bailey, who's a much bigger star than Sol Ruka. And you just lose clean to Sol Ruka, who's not going anywhere, who just lost to Raquel. Like, who cares? I'm not even going to care when Sol Ruka wins the title back from Bacal, if she even does. So, like, I don't know. I feel bad for Lyra, and if I were her, I would just leave.
So I'm not going to try to change your mind because I don't fully agree that she's buried. I think that WWE has kind of written themselves into a corner here by some of their decision making. I think the idea of putting Sol Ruka and Lyra against each other was a stupid idea. When you have a new star in Sol that you're trying to push, who for some reason you had randomly drop her title. So now you have to build her back up from that, and then you have a completely repackaged somebody who needs to be pushed as well. So you're putting yourself in a position where you have to hurt somebody when you need to be pushing both of these people. So I have no idea what WWE and their decision making for this was, because it seemed right off the bat for a match that never should have been made. And that's where my problem with this lies.
What was the point of having Sol beat Becky?
You're right. I agree. I think obviously it was to try to push a big star, but then you have her drop the belt, and then like I said, my whole problem with this is this match never should have happened. If you should have had Lyra against somebody else and Sol against somebody else, and then they both should have won.
Yep.
And which is why I don't think that I'm quite as down on it as you are. But I agree. I do agree. I think that they are making a huge mistake as of right now with how they're handling it.
Agreed. Did you want to talk about the Bron Breakker segment next?
So it's nice to see that Bron Breakker is hopefully going to be on the upswing here. Started out as a backstage segment with the Vision and turning into Austin Theory rubbing his face all over Maxine, only for Bron to storm out to the ring pissed off about Oba Femi being called the Future. came out and obviously called out Oba, only for us to get a live in Buffalo sighting of Paul Heyman, which was very excited to see.
Mhm.
Gotta love some Paul Riss. And he came out to basically try to talk some sense into Braun, and obviously everything that he said made complete sense. That you have people, and then Oba, of course, came out, so you had your whole segment with them talking. And Paul made the comment of, you have two guys who are considered the future. Why would you just give that away as a free match? Which we know that that's something WWE likes doing sometimes. And you and I have talked about before how it's incredibly stupid. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to go, because it looked like at the end there, for a second, Paul Heyman and Bron Breakker were back on the same page. However, Paul proceeded to stay in the ring and shake Oba's hand, which got quite the reaction out of Bron Breakker. So I'm very, very curious to see what's going to most likely be, I hope, the main event of Sunday night's main event is. Obviously, if there's going to be a title there, that'll be the main event, but I consider this the main event. I think that this match cannot end clean. I think it hurts both of them if it ends clean one way or another. And honestly, if I'm in a fantasy book here for a second, this is where I have the reveal of what Bronson Reed looks like happen. I think I have Bronson Reed come out and help Braun.
Yeah, you could have Bronson Reed make the return here, and that would allow him to get the win over Oba. And I think that would protect Oba a little bit, at least in the interim. But I love the idea of Bron Breakker getting back to, like, like the will he, while he acted like he wanted Paul Heyman to be around. At the same time, it was like, we need you to kind of get back to being the alpha dog again a little bit
Yep.
here, no pun intended. And I think that, yeah, it has to go one of two ways. Either Oba wins clean or Oba loses via interference.
Yep. And I think Oba winning clean hurts Braun. So I think that I think it has to be interference that costs.
Yeah, and then Oba can get the win back later on.
And he can go through the whole vision.
Yeah, yeah, as he should.
Like that's how I
Oba's so
took it.
over with the live crowd too. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that crowd went insane for him. The
Yeah.
people marching, the people going huh, to his theme.
I mean, they never stopped chanting Oba throughout the entire segment. You could barely hear what was being said over
Yep.
how loud they were for Oba Femi. It was wild.
He's another one in person. My God, is he a big guy.
It's a big guy.
And I love it. I never would have thought that Oba Femi, for as successful as he was in NXT, was going to come out and have the rocket strapped to him that he has. And thank you, Brock Lesnar, for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, we had a segment with Danhausen where he came out and celebrated his birthday Hausen and attempted to throw human monies into the crowd and kind of really horribly. This was kind of a dumb segment, but I don't even know if this was on TV, to be completely honest with you. And it was just to, I think give the live crowd just something to do, maybe even during a commercial break, to be completely honest with you. So it was fine. It was harmless. And I think, frankly, this is probably how you should be using Danhausen for a little while.
100%. I mean, there was no way they weren't going to utilize the fact that it was Donovan Danhausen's birthday. I was kind of hoping he would uncurse the Buffalo Bills with them sitting ringside, but we didn't get that. And I absolutely love when he makes everything flash and then you see him go scampering away like he's disappearing. I think that's absolutely hysterical.
So then we had what was the main wrestling match of the show, which saw Chad Gable defeat Rey Mysterio via pinfall to retain the Intercontinental Championship. And this match was fantastic. The crowd was really, really into Rey, especially, attempting to go for the 619 throughout the course of the match. Finally nailed two of them and, saw a great back and forth between both of these guys, which ultimately saw Chad Gable retain via the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. And the thing that bothered me about this wasn't even what happened here. It was what happened at SummerSlam. And that was that this match got more time than his SummerSlam match against Penta. And it's just amazing. Like, you give them just 2 or 3 more minutes at the very end there. all of the extra stuff they can do. The crowd was into it. Like the crowd was so into the idea of, and I know Gable just won, but the crowd was so into the idea of Rey just winning the Intercontinental Championship here. And it was like, and Gable's awesome. And they had such a, it was just such a great match. And it's a bigger problem I have with WWE that they just simply don't give these matches enough time on their PLEs. Like, why am I tuning into your PLE when I'm going to get a better match with more time on weekly television?
Not wrong at all. I mean, this match was a hell of a match. Between the entrances and how into everybody was, watching the crowd as Gable came in clapping along with him was phenomenal. The fact that it's taken them this long to put a title belt on that man is a travesty. But you're right. There were a couple points there where I thought that Rey was actually going to win. And that's what you need out of a match. You give a match, like you said, 2 or 3 more extra minutes for near falls and just the back and forth of these things. When you have 2 guys who are, one who's as incredible of a technical wrestler as Chad Gable is, and one who's been in the business for as long as Rey is, like, they're able to put on a clinic in that ring. And this was probably one of the best actual wrestling matches that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved it.
So that was Monday Night Raw, live from Buffalo, New York. So before we get to our final rating for the show, watching it on TV every week, how do you make of being there live versus watching it on TV?
Like I said, it's always weird to me going to live shows because of the lack of commentary. Like, I'm so used to hearing like Michael Cole and Corey Graves like talk about everything. And mind you, Michael Cole got a huge reaction too when he came out, which was cool to see. But I think that it's a two-way street there, because sometimes listening to them talk can be a little bit much as well. So being able to actually sit and watch the matches themselves outside of some of the terrible audience members is well worth it. So I do recommend, if you get the chance to go to a live show and you can get tickets at a halfway decent price, that you should go. It's worth seeing live. Usually it doesn't quite have the sound issues. That was definitely a first for us when we've gone to some of these shows. I don't recall it being so bad in the past, but I enjoyed it. I love the whole show. I think that the only thing that disappointed me was the lack of any Monday Night Rollins. That was the one thing I was hoping for, but I definitely I'm always glad that I get the opportunity to go to a live one when I can.
So with that, what's your final rating for the show?
When combined with the fact of being there with the overall show, I give it an A.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it was a really good show. I mean, live, right? Like, there are a lot of problems I have with the booking, after everything I've said here, but I think the main event, both the match and the Roman Reigns segment, for me, saved this show. I think there's just a lot of problems with the women's division in general, but I've been saying that for months, and I don't see any change in sight for a while. I think I get a bigger problem with just them not showcasing other talent that they have, the actual WWE talent, instead choosing to showcase AAA wrestlers. I know you got a tournament going on right now, but you can pretty much, it's very easy wrestling booking. You can pretty much always have a tournament going on. It is very easy because you've got a lot of titles. You can always have a tournament going on to be a number one contender to title A, B, C, or D. Always. You can always have that going on. People will never get bored of it. People love tournaments. And it's a very easy way to book matches and to get people who aren't regularly on the show on the show. So that's kind of my sort of my only gripe with it. But to your point about watching it live, I do agree. And with that, my final rating for the show was, thank you, Roman Reigns, for saying to the crowd to F off. We are not going to run it back.
Yes.
That was fantastic. That was the best part of the whole night, when Roman Reigns was like, no, we're not running it back. And we did not, in fact, run it back. Thank you, Roman Reigns.
God, I hate that so much. I hate that running back. I acknowledge Roman for that.
I acknowledge my tribal chief for not running it back. So that is our show, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you get a chance to go to Monday Night Raw? And if so, did you enjoy it? And please leave your comments. Let us know what you guys think. Where do you think we go from here with this main event story? And if you could, please hit a BFT on that subscribe button. We appreciate it. And with that, I have been Mike, joined by Mr. Real Deal. Have yourselves a fantastic evening and take care.